Yigal, building a resilient cyberspace, very fancy words. But if we look at the day-to-day life, first we have a big trend of ransomware that previous speakers already mentioned here. And we see some essential services for the public that are being shut down. For example, hospitals, and unfortunately, we have the cyber attack on Hillel Yaffe Hospital in Israel just 10 days ago.
Yes, it looks like yesterday. In fact, we just landed from, great to be here in New York City. First time on stage here in New York. Not the first time on the Cybertech events. And my best regards to my dear friend, Dr. Kuwaiti, that was supposed, as you mentioned, to join me on stage. But he's watching us from there. We sat on the same stage on Cybertech Dubai a couple of months ago. And we shared also last week the great initiative led by the White House, US White House, dealing with the ransomware. Among other more than 30 countries, different countries, leading countries around the globe, including UAE in Israel, of course. We all sat together and tried to figure out, virtually, of course, unfortunately with the COVID-19, but we sat together for 2 days, very fruitful days, to figure out how we can deal globally and contributing each country with its merits and advantages, and Israel has some, to counter this ransomware attacks. Now, you mentioned the event now we're still facing in Israel. Well, we landed just 4 a.m. It was the most blessed 10 hours I had without any connection because I could rest. The moment I opened it, 4 a.m. here, afternoon in Israel, well, all the thousands of messages, it's still going on. I cannot disclose too much because it's in the ongoing investigation. But it shows us, again, how the bad guys, how the perpetrators has no limits, no lines, no red lines to stop, no stop signs that they count. They just there to, no matter the damage, no matter the risks they create, they just want to take their share and the Bitcoin or whatever. And it's not a wake-up call because we're all long time awake. I'm 4 years, almost 4 years in this position, and we encounter that all the time. But it's again makes us think again and better how we should do even more. Each country, each agency, but mostly together, partnering together, not just countries, not just agencies, but public and private sectors. And this is here, what's going on here is a great example of coming together physically, finally, and have the opportunity to exchange ideas and to work together to deal not with that. We'll get by. It will take a week, 2 weeks at most, and we'll get by, and the hospital will go to normal. But we know that it's just waiting for the next event, for the next IT guy or CISO or any other employee that will do the mistake and push the wrong button and press the wrong link and do what people do, mistakes, and we'll get to another event. We need to drill down to the bottom of it and have a root care of this problem.
Again, when you look at this incident of the hospital, you look at it from a private entity who needs to be regulated, or by a public service that the government needs to give, and therefore it is a national effort that you have to be with your hands on it?
Well, Zori, once again, you're exactly at the point. This is not a dilemma, but it's a tension that you need to take care all the time. By the way, those who handle in this hospital and others are, contractors. They're private sector. The hospital is a government, is a public facility. And you need to take care of different circles and many stakeholders just to recover and get back to business, and not to mention all the actions that you need to do with regulatory and different regulators and different sets of regulations. And some of the contractors are foreign contractors, for example, from the IT and supply chain, etc. It's a big mess, and you need a clear cut. You need to focus before the event, and unfortunately, when something like this happened, to understand exactly what happened as soon as possible, and to clean it, and to isolate it and contain it, and way before you use regulations and you use the hammer. And at the end, we have the hammer. Yes, if a government agency or even private entity hasn't followed the regulations, well, they should be sanctions in a way that will deter others. And I can tell very carefully now that the Israeli police is checking all the aspects of this event. And as I saw here in the US, well, it's not a surprise that it's going global trend, not to just to run after and take care of the perpetrators, they are the real bad guys, but also to look at the negligence side. Those who are responsible, who haven't applied or haven't done the work as they should have. And if it's a negligence, it can be criminal negligence, and then they should also be taken care of. And that's a dilemma because it may have an impact on the cooperation or collaboration from those entities to the government, to the police, to the other good guys who come to assist them in case of attack, of trouble, of crisis. So yes, more and more dilemmas as we go, but it all can be prevented if resilience, if robustness, if the regulatory regime would be implemented in advance and on the highest professional level.
Understood. So you're mentioning practically two key factors. First, the public-private partnership, as well as the coordination between those two levels prior to the incident and right after the incident. Let's look at, we still have 2 minutes. Wow, lucky us. So we can discuss a bit actions that can be taken by the regulator or by the government prior to an incident in a private sector or in a private entity. Is it about training? Is it about having discussions with the CEOs? How you see this approach?
Well, all of the above and plus. Training and getting ready for it is something that is still surprising me that not too many entities, government or private sectors do that. Yes, the chance that you're going to get hit by a ransomware attack, by a cyber attack, has risen so dramatically that it would be considered as a negligence by itself not to prepare and not to exercise and not to have a drill. Now, as a government agency, the leading government agency, the National Directorate in Israel, we run drills all the time. In fact, my partner at B here, Dr. Kuwaiti, we're going to run in the Expo, Dubai Expo Air Show, just a couple of weeks from now, cyber commercial aviation drill with many attendances from all around the world in the industry of aviation, because we understand that we need to have a better communication, better lingo, jargon or whatever, just to understand what we need to do. And that goes even for a specific hospital or the electricity company. I see Yossi Schneck here from the IEC. We need to exercise all the time, because the one exercise, the drill that we have done a year ago is an obsolete in this age. We need to check again, because all the puzzles, all the pieces in the puzzle have moved in a different shape. It's a different puzzle. And we need to exercise again and to understand again. But the good news, if you do that, the chances that you will not recover, get hit is a different thing, but recovery and getting back, resilience, getting back on your feet and not 6 feet under depends very, very highly on how good you're in exercising it and preparing for that. And that the good news, yes, that's what we do all the time. The attacks comes or go. We can do that all the time, regardless if the actual attack.
Thank you very much, Yigal. We could continue this discussion into the afternoon, but I guess that you also have other planned activities in New York City.
Thank you, and keep safe. It's a great city here.